Hey everyone, and welcome back to Small Engine Edge. Today we're going over a subject one of the viewers had asked about. If you have been following along and getting your business set up, you're probably doing quite a few repairs, whether it's for customers or for yourself so far, that you've got a lot of bad fuel coming out of those pieces of equipment. This fuel may or may not be filled with water. It may have other issues such as being stale or a yellowish brown color like such. Either way, I'm going to show you how to dispose of those things without costing you an arm and a leg. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as we go along if you enjoy the content. The proper way to dispose of old fuels like this that are still reusable can vary quite a bit. What we used to do is we used to actually pull the top, so we'd put it in a container and we would pull the top all the way almost down to the water line because the water will go all the way to the bottom. We would pull all that off and then we would put a Craigslist ad up. We'd always get people reach out wanting this fuel, and a lot of those people are actually going to use that in their cars. I know, sounds crazy, right? But we get people to do it all the time. I've had one guy using it in his vehicle for 8 years now. He comes and picks it up when we have about 55 gallons, and he goes through a process where he just uses a 12-volt pump with a few different filters on it of different sizes, and he will completely filter it out. He'll let it sit for a while, make sure that there's no moisture in it, and he adds a fuel additive. But basically, he gets 100% free fuel out of it. 55 gallons of free fuel every couple months or every month during the busy seasons and stuff. Now that's a really good amount of money that he's saving by doing that as opposed to going to the gas station and doing it. Does it take effort? Sure, he's got to come here, he's got to load it all up, and then he's got to filter it and treat it before he uses it. But this fuel can still be used. It is not completely bad. It does still have flammability and explosiveness to it, but you've got to make sure that all the water is out of it. We try to keep the 2-cycle and the 4-cycle stuff separated as much as we can, but sometimes it gets mixed in a little bit. That or you've got gas mixed with oil. We will put those things in a different container. So we've got 20, I think they're 25-gallon drums that we keep back there. That's all of that stuff that he couldn't take because it's got oil mixed with the gas, or stuff that's just extremely bad that you know is probably not going to burn off if he's going to use it in his vehicle. And we put that in a drum. And essentially what we do is once that drum's full, we send that to Safety Queen. Safety Queen is a nationwide company. They're also in Canada and a lot of the other places, for those of you not in the US. So anybody that's watching should be able to use Safety Queen. You may have to take it somewhere if you want a cheaper price on it. And they charge a lot of money to get rid of that fuel. Many times that's $5 to $8 per gallon that you're going to pay to dispose of the fuel. So finding a way to get rid of it other than using a large company is going to be the way to go. There's other smaller companies out there that'll take it. Depending on the quality of the fuel, they may or may not charge you. It really just depends on your area. So there's like Crystal Clean out there. That's another good environmental company that I think they're quite a bit cheaper than Safety Clean on different things. Reach out to your local companies that may or may not do this, though, and see where they're at. They do have environmental days, many sites around the country. And if you're just a small guy, you may get away with taking in 5 or 10 gallons of this type of stuff to some of those events. But if you tell them you're doing it commercially, they will not allow you to go in there. I have not tried it. I'm not telling you that because of it, but I know a few people that come in as customers that have tried those things. If you go into an environmental day, and that's basically like a community event where they want hazardous waste to be disposed of properly. So they allow you to come in and dump it for free. Usually you have to leave your container, but those things are, especially when you're starting out, maybe the good way to go. You could go dump a little bit of it, and they're not going to throw a big fuss about 5 or 10 gallons worth of this stuff. They're going to accept it and move on. Be happy that it's not somewhere like where you shouldn't dispose of it. What should you not do with this old fuel? You don't want to just go dump it out back. You sure as heck don't want to dump it in a drain or a sewer anywhere that it can get into wildlife and affect things like that. We want to be responsible with what we're doing. when we're working on small engines, okay? I'm not an environmentalist by any means, but take care of the environment. You don't want to put things like this back into the environment where they don't belong. Yes, I know with used oils and things like that, we used to just dump them, in some gravel out in the backyard, and hey, it came from the ground, it's going back to the ground, right? Well, we realized after a while that that wasn't the right way to do things, and we've came quite a long way. Used oils. Most times places will pick those up for free. Things have changed quite a bit, and this last oil that I had Safety Queen pick up, they charged me about $220 to pick up it was 220 gallons. So it was right about $1 a gallon to pick it up. To me, that seems extremely pricey when I have never paid for oil pickup. Not one time. This is the very first time. They didn't even tell me about it until I got a bill in the mail. Kind of made me mad. I called them up and said, hey, well, they just started it right about a month and a half ago. If I would have known that, I probably would have called around to get a little bit of pricing on something instead of just sending it with who I always would have. Just goes to show you really have to be careful and ask questions when you're scheduling things. Otherwise, you get a bill that you weren't thinking you were going to get. If I would have called, I called Crystal Clean, which again is another one of those companies that's local that does kind of the same thing as Safety Queen. They told me, hey, we would have came and picked it up for $30. Still paying to get rid of used oil, in my mind, isn't quite the way to go. Most times if you post something like this on Craigslist or Facebook or anywhere out there, put the word out there that you have plenty of used oil and you're going to continue to have that. Used oil can be used for waste oil burners and many different things. Oil is a commodity. This is something that can be sold or reused, no problem. The fuel, on the other hand, if it's really bad fuel, there's really no way for anybody to reuse that. It probably most likely gets destroyed. It's hard to tell what they're going to do, and there are different levels of the pricing when they're taking your oil or your gas. Reach out to those different companies again to get rid of these products. Otherwise, if you look at your local auto parts stores and stuff, they are going to allow you most times to bring in used oil. They want you to come in there and they want you to buy something is why they do this. So they've got a big tank in the back where you can dump your used oil and it's free. That's at least how it is around here. How it is in Canada and other countries, I'm not really sure. But in the US, most of the times, a lot of these auto parts stores, if you just call around, you're going to be able to dump that used oil for free. And I just don't get why they're starting to charge for those things. They're taking that oil, Safety Queen for instance, they are re-refining it and then they're selling it. This is what I buy back from them, right? $1 a gallon. In the scheme of things, it's not much, but at the same time, it's another expense that we could have gotten away from had we not sent it there. With oil and gas, if there's any other chemicals that you have going on, those are even harder to get rid of. Most places aren't going to take different solvents and stuff like that. Again, environmental days are a great way to do it. If you're taking in just small amounts here and there, as long as it's not a large commercial drum or something that you're taking in, most of the time, again, they're not going to throw any fuss about you bringing that in. They're going to accept it and be happy that it's not in the environment somewhere where it shouldn't be. Oil and gas, again, is a real easy one. Reach out to some people. There's a lot of people out there that will take a chance on doing something like this with their vehicle. People who don't have quite as much money are going to put a little bit more effort into making this gas good. If you take, 10 gallons of this and you put it with 5 gallons of good gas and it's halfway decent, this stuff's probably going to burn off fine. I still probably wouldn't do it on my vehicle, but at the same time, there's people out there that will. And in my mind, that's the best way to get rid of it. Reuse it. I've also had farmers reach out to me at certain points and want bad gas for starting fires. When that happens, I will give them some of the stuff that's in the Safety Clean barrel and back that I would have to pay to get rid of. And they're perfectly happy to use that for just putting a little bit on a fire and starting it. If there's a huge brush that they need to light up, then that's what they do. They start that with that bad gas, and they're perfectly happy with however it burns. It doesn't need to be real explosive in order for it to work well for them. Just to sum everything up here, if I had some bad fuel that I wanted to get rid of today, and we didn't already have outlets to do that, the first thing I would do is make a listing for it, whether it be Facebook or Craigslist, Nextdoor, any of those other sites. And I would say, hey, I have this fuel that may be able to be reused. Would anybody be interested in it? Same thing with oil is what I would do. That same thing, just so maybe you can help somebody with their heating. There's many smaller people who use waste oil burners out there, and they may be extremely happy to come pick something like that up from you. Reach out in those areas first before you go paying an exorbitant amount of money to pay a company to get rid of it for you. There's many other uses for these things than just sending it in and paying to get rid of it. Hopefully this has helped, guys. If there's anything else that you would like to know or any other subject that you'd like me to cover, don't forget to just comment down below and I will possibly make a video on that, depending on what it is and the time allotment, of course. But I'm always glad to help. I'm always glad to answer any questions. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring the bell to get notified each and every time we post a video.